Hey everyone, happy Thursday. It is Alyssa Lebrecq, nutritionist and gut expert. I want to talk about food tonight. It's been a couple months since we've talked about food, and specifically, I want to talk about foods that we should really be swapping out when we're suffering with SIBO. Now, if you're watching this, I imagine you probably know what SIBO is, heard of SIBO, suspect you have SIBO, or have SIBO. If you're just happening to run upon this video and you're like, what is SIBO? It stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And interestingly, up to 80% of individuals who have gut issues actually have SIBO. And a lot of the times when individuals are struggling with food reactions, it's not really the food that's the problem, it's their gut. And inside their gut, one of the big culprits that can be causing these food reactions is SIBO, the bacteria that are overgrowing in your small intestine. And interestingly, these type of bacteria will give off all kinds of symptoms, but one of the most common things is they produce gases. And there's two main types of gases, methane and hydrogen. There's a third type of gas that's not often talked about called hydrogen sulfide. And hydrogen sulfide is the sneaky little bugger that likes to make you smell terrible. It gives you those really rotten smelling farts, like the rotten egg sulfur smelling farts. That's usually a symptom of hydrogen sulfide type SIBO. So these types of bacteria, they give off these gases, and because it's in the small intestine, one of the most common symptoms that individuals with SIBO struggle with is bloating, like really bad bloating. Not just like a little bit after you eat a meal, but like all day long, or it gets worse as your day goes on, makes you look like you're pregnant, and it's really rocking your world, quite honestly. So aside from bloating, obviously diarrhea, constipation, a lot of pain can be presented as well. Getting like that tight pain, especially underneath the rib cage, whether it be the center or the left side. Every week, I swear my family is on time. Every week we do this. They must call. They must call. And I even make a point of calling them beforehand to make sure we get all the conversations out of the way so they do not call me when I'm talking to you guys. All right, so where were we? I don't even remember where we're at, but let me talk to you about the SIBO thing. So the thing about SIBO is that a lot of people don't realize that they have it. And I want to talk to you guys specifically tonight, whether you suspect you have it, don't know if you have it, or have it, and how that relates with food. If you've been following me for some time now, you know that I will tell you food is not the problem. Okay? And I'm gonna sing that until I'm dead. Okay? I'm going to preach that till the cows come home, right? Here's the thing, even tonight, we're gonna talk about the foods that you really need to be swapping if you have SIBO. And I wanna be crystal clear, it's not because the food is the problem, it's what it's doing to your body or how your body is reacting to it, okay? I think it's really important that we get out of this labeling, this dialogue around food, of fear-mongering, of foods being good versus bad. This is the kind of terminology and relationship with food that develops eating disorders or just a disordered relationship with food. And I'm not really in favor of that, and I don't think it's in service to you to add any more fear to your plate, right? You're already grappling with the weight and the gravity of trying to sort out your poops, of trying to get yourself to poop or trying to get yourself to stop pooping, trying to figure out what's going on in your body, and is it going to lead to more serious health concerns, and are you going to be medicated the rest of your life, and will you ever feel normal again? And that's heavy. And then when you add on top of that the fear, every time you have to put something in your mouth, something food related that is meant to help you stay alive, to fear that, to create stress around that, is not in service to you or your gut health. And so I really want to talk to you guys about food tonight in a different way. Let's talk about it in terms of like red light, yellow light, green light. Okay? You guys are familiar with this because, you know, driving your car, we get the concept, right? So red light, ideally we want to stop and go in a different direction. Yellow light, proceed with caution. Don't be silly, right? Don't be run the red light. Green light, good to go, okay? So the way that I like to word this as well with our clients in the Love and Trust Your Guts program is swap it out, don't eat it, eat a little bit or proceed with caution, or eat a lot of it, okay? So red light, yellow light, green light. We're gonna be talking about red light and yellow light tonight. So red light foods, let's start with those first. This is really the only category that, let me rephrase. This is the category that is the simplest. It is so simple. It's so simple, you're gonna listen to it and you're probably gonna wanna complicate it because you've been reading all these blogs out there and you've been following maybe what your doctor told you to do, following a low FODMAP diet, and you're trying to figure out what all the saccharides and oligosaccharides and all that shit is. And you're trying to figure out what the hell you can eat. And you're trying to figure out what foods are made of so that you can figure out if it's safe to eat. And I just want to simplify food for you for a half a second here. Your red light foods are only 3 food groups, okay? Only 3 foods. Dairy, gluten, and sugar. That's it. That's your red light food. That's it. Not garlic. You will not find onions on that list. Nope. Not even broccoli in moderation, not cauliflower. Guys, it's very simple. The foods, 3 food groups that will piss off SIBO and hurt your gut are dairy, gluten, and sugar. Okay? Let me explain why. I'm going to keep it super simple because we don't need to get all heady about it. We just need to get you in alignment with the actions that are going to yield results. Okay, so kept very simply, dairy, we don't have the enzymes to break down dairy, the breast milk of another animal. It doesn't work. It's inflammatory. Not to mention that when our body does have to process dairy, it turns into this gluey texture. And in our intestines, we have these little hair-like follicles, actually, much like the little hairs on your arm, these little villi, we call them. And can you imagine if you just think back to your elementary school classroom, you know, Elmer glue, the one that has the cow on it, because it used to be made with dairy? See where I'm going with this? Can you imagine just taking that glue and just spreading that all over those little hairs on your arm? Yuck. That's what happens when we eat dairy, is it turns into this gluey texture and it coats all those poor little villi who are responsible for absorbing your nutrients. We have all this like gunky glue on top of them, they can't function properly. And this is what forces our body to produce mucus. It pushes this mucus out to try to force the food through the digestive tract. Some of you will probably be thinking right now, oh, that's why I get phlegm in the back of my throat. That's why I have mucus in my stool. Now, if you're thinking, well, I don't have those 2 symptoms, I must be good. No. Don't think for a second that you're getting away with it. Whether you have a sensitivity to these foods or not, your body cannot digest them properly. They are inflammatory for everyone, okay? Dairy. Gluten. Let's talk about gluten briefly. So gluten, aside from it being inflammatory, can be extremely irritating for SIBO, okay? So one of the things that you'll find is you might experience obviously inflammation going on through your body, so that might present as like really stiff and sore and inflamed. You might experience full-on bloating. You might get mucus in your stool as well. So this is something that you want to be keeping an eye on, but again, even if you're not getting those symptoms, it doesn't mean you're getting away with it. It just means that you haven't pissed your body off enough that it needs to scream at you. When you're getting symptoms, that is your body screaming at you. We're way past the point of, I prefer you don't eat that anymore. Your body is like, would you stop it? this like full-on meltdown town because you didn't get the message before, okay? So think of these symptoms as little messages coming from your body. Gluten is a no-go when it comes to reducing inflammation and helping your body to fight off bacteria. Now, sugar, the other interesting thing about sugar is that, well, it straight up feeds bacteria. Sugar is what your bad bacteria live off of. And I want you to understand that when dairy and gluten are broken down and digested, they break down into sugar. So they too are just like eating straight up cane sugar in that they feed your bad bacteria. And you're here because you want to kick the little bad buggers out. And so I want to reassure you that there's a lot of different ways that you can swap out these red light foods without feeling deprived. You can go to restaurants, you can socialize and eat foods, you can have the cake, you can do all of the things. We just got to teach you the swaps. Okay, so there's nothing that you can't have. It's swaps. We swap for a different sweetener. We swap for a different flour. We swap for a different cheese. It doesn't have to be straight up dairy cheese. There are lots of other cheese alternatives out there that will satisfy you. Okay? So those are your red light foods, guys. You don't need to complicate it beyond that. Let's talk about yellow light foods. Now, yellow light foods are the category that we proceed with caution. It doesn't mean there's necessarily a problem. Sometimes it still means you can still full go ahead, and other times you do need to stop. But you need to be able to self-regulate that, and it's going to depend on the position that your individual body is in. Does this make sense? So here's how you approach yellow light foods. You have to get in touch and in tune with your body and understand how your individual body is feeling about a particular food. This is where a lot of people kind of get confused in the mix because they end up Googling and they read broccoli or garlic or onions is a no-go, it's high in FODMAPs, I need to swap it out, therefore my body must not like garlic and onions. Please don't get confused with the information out there and allow it to project onto your experience with foods. It's really critical that when you're approaching your relationship with your body and this healing journey with your body, that you get out of your head and get into your body. So not what you think you shouldn't have, but how does your body actually feel about a particular food? Okay? So this is where having more of an intuitive approach is going to be critical. There is no one diet fits all for everyone. I repeat, there's no one diet fits all for everyone, meaning the low FODMAP diet should not be the diet for everyone. In fact, we've seen through studies that long-term use of it does more harm than good. And the reason is because it's too restrictive. Not only does it have you eliminating beneficial foods like garlic and onions and artichokes and things that help to feed your good bacteria and kill off bad bacteria, but it promotes inflammatory foods as well. Okay, so when we go past red light foods and we step into yellow light foods, I'm going to introduce you to the common foods that can be irritating for some with SIBO. And from there, you have to listen to your individual body. Do you guys catch my drift here? You see, I'm really prefacing this because what I don't want to happen as soon as I list a food for you to be like, okay, I'm never eating it again. Or as soon as you eat it, you think that all of a sudden your body can't do it. Many people do tolerate these foods just fine. And it's been my experience that in severe cases of SIBO, some of these foods can irritate, but not all. Okay, so your yellow light foods are things like grains. Not for everyone. Let me give you some examples. Oatmeal, brown rice, quinoa. Quinoa is technically a pseudo grain, but we'll count it as a grain for today. These types of foods. Buckwheat, even though it's gluten-free, these are gluten-free, but they're grains. And for some individuals, they're a little bit too fibrous And when SIBO is present, they can react to the food. Did you hear that? The bacteria react to the food. It's not the food that's the problem. So when you eliminate the bacteria, the food's no longer a problem. Okay? So here's how you approach this. If you are eating one of these particular foods, let's say oatmeal for breakfast, and you find that your bloating gets worse, if these foods flare up your symptoms even worse than they were before, then you know that that's a sign you need to temporarily pause that food. Okay? That's the key. If it makes your symptom worse. So a lot of people say to me, Alyssa, I feel like shit all the time, so I don't know what food's causing the problem. You will know. If you eat a food and your body does not like it or the bacteria does not like it, you will know. Your symptom will get worse. And then that will be the sign. Okay? But if you're like, I felt bloated the whole time and nothing changed, chances are that food it's not flaring things up. It's just the bacteria that are causing the problem. Okay, so you don't need to take the food out. So grains are one common thing. Yeah, let's talk about beans. And I'm gonna add peas in there too. So beans have this protective protein, this outer layer. I'm gonna keep it really simple for you guys. This protective protein on the outside that's difficult to digest for any person. And so some of the ways that you can make beans more easily digestible is simply by soaking them. And you can also sprout them. And then the third thing that you can do to make beans more easy to digest is cooking them with kombu or kelp. And so this seaweed helps to pre-digest that outer protein, and it makes it more easily digestible for your gut. So again, if you find that you're the type of person, and trust me guys, if you're this type of person that this food is a trigger, these yellow light foods are a trigger, you're at home right now being like, oh yeah, I can't do beans. I can't do beans. Like they kill me. You will know. It will be very, very clear to you. Okay? But in cases of SIBO, we know the stomach is underactive. One of the things that allows SIBO to come in and take over most often is an underactive stomach or low stomach acid. And so we know that your stomach's ability to digest foods is hindered. And when that's happening, and then we take a food like beans that are already tough to digest for any person, it makes it even harder for an individual who has an underactive stomach. Now, that doesn't mean that you should never touch beans. It just means that, again, there's a good chance that this food for many people will fall under the yellow light category. And so again, take an individual approach. If you find that you can eat hummus and you can eat beans or chili or whatever it is and you feel fine and it doesn't make your symptoms worse, that's the key, guys. Remember that. Is it making my symptom worse? If the answer is no, keep eating it. If the answer is yes, temporarily swap it. All right? That's how you handle that. The other common one is peas that I want to just touch on, because peas are, I mean, we're in this like weird this weird phase in the health industry of doing peas and everything. You guys know what I'm talking about. Like plant-based protein powders are pea-based now because they yield like a creamier, smoother texture than grain-based protein powders. And a lot of them still have grains in them. So if you're struggling to digest protein powders or find that it flares up your symptoms, it might be some of these yellow category foods. So peas are in a lot of protein powders now. And we even have like pea-based dairy-free milk products now. It's interesting. I mean, sure, if you want to try them. And again, take an individual approach. Like if you find they make your symptoms worse, swap it out. Okay? The last yellow light category, and this is it, guys, it's very simple. The last yellow light category is prebiotic fibers. All right, so there's different types of fibers that are absolutely beneficial for the gut. You need prebiotic fibers, okay? Prebiotics are what feed your probiotics, which are your beneficial good bacteria, all right? Now, when prebiotic fibers are introduced, when you have SIBO, they can commonly piss off the bacteria, the bad guys. And so again, if you are experiencing a reaction from the bacteria when you introduce a prebiotic fiber in, this could be things like inulin. Inulin's the most common one, but hickory, you'll find them in a lot of, what's a good example? You'll find them in a lot of sugar-free sweeteners. Like, check out stevia and monk fruit products. A lot of the times they'll stick in like inulin into the mix, okay? So these types of prebiotic fibers are either going to be super beneficial for your gut right here, right now, or they're going to flare your gut up because of the bacteria right now. But once you kick the bacteria out, they're going to be extremely beneficial for your gut. Okay, so all of the yellow light category is are they making my symptoms worse right now? Okay, they are. Temporarily swap, but the goal is absolutely to reintroduce them down the road. So this is as simple as it is, guys. A lot of the times when people come into the Love and Trust Your Guts program, they think that they need to be eliminating certain types of like vegetables, and they're taking out all kinds of different foods, and they're living on like such a small amount of restricted, bland, boring foods. And what's happening is they're either super duper duper rigid and they never deviate from that plan, and they also never have a social life because they can't go anywhere. You can't eat at a restaurant, and no one ever knows how to cook for you. Or you get to this fuck it moment where you try so hard, especially through the week, you're doing like everything in your will, you're trying to willpower through it, and you're like, I'm just gonna eat so clean for the rest of my life because I don't want to feel this way anymore. And then you start to feel a little bit better. That, or you just get busy and life starts to happen, and by the end of the week or when the weekend hits, you're like, fuck it, and you eat whatever you want, and you completely deviate from the plan. Either way, both are completely missing the mark. Okay, so when we're dealing with SIBO, the purpose of adjusting your foods is not to fix your gut. Did you guys catch that? The purpose of adjusting your foods is not to fix your gut. That's not going to fix your gut. The foods themselves are not going to fix your gut. The purpose is to remove the inflammation so that instead of your body having to fight to digest these red light foods, dairy, gluten, sugar, it can take that energy and put it towards healing. It can put it towards fighting the bad bacteria. It can put it towards improving your motility. It can put it towards addressing damage and deficiencies that are going on inside your body. It's a way of reallocating energy so that your body has the capacity to heal. Does this make sense, guys? So please, let's uncomplicate food. Let's take the labels of good, bad, ugly, whatever away, and understand that we really shouldn't be having reactions to foods. If you're having a reaction to food, it's more likely that your body is just struggling to digest these foods. And therefore we have a gut issue, not a food issue. So keep food as simple as we've talked about tonight. And then you need to get focused on, how do I fix the damage and deficiencies that are causing these symptoms to happen? And how do I not only kick out the bacteria, but how do I prevent them from coming back time and time again? So if you're the type of person that feels like you have been trying all the things, maybe you even know that you have SIBO and you've done the antibiotics, you've tried even natural supplements, and you can't seem to get past it, you can't seem to get rid of the SIBO, then I want you to reach out, because this is the kind of thing that we help people get unstuck from inside the Love and Trust Your Guts program. Okay, so send us a message and we're gonna talk through the things that you've tried so that we can help you identify what's missing, right? That's what we do best, is we help people be incredibly thorough, so that you no longer miss critical pieces of the puzzle. All right, in terms of food, start with this tonight, and then let's get you unstuck. All right, guys, I hope you have an awesome night, and we'll see you next week. Bye.